Zuranski. I'm on the phone with Jeff Dedrick. He's one of the new people on the Internet that's making quite a splash with some of the new software and programs that he's developing, and I had the opportunity of spending some time with him at a couple of the seminars and found him to be a kind and caring and just a brilliant individual and Internet marketer. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Hey, Ralph. I'm doing great, and thanks for having me here.
Well, what is the worthy ideal you are pursuing with honesty and integrity?
Well, I have a family, and I've got 2 girls. I think everything I do relates to my family. Every action that I take, everything that I say, I'm always trying to set a great example for my girls. One's 13 and one's 7. So pretty much everything I do, from my whole idea to be in business for myself, or to actually, I've always been in business for myself, but to just recently change to 100% online was so I could spend more time with my family, with my wife, and with my 2 girls. So yeah, pretty much everything I do now is just to be a great dad.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff, what do you want out of life in 10 words or less?
Total, and you asked me this question before, so I want to make sure I got it down. It's total freedom to do what I want, when I want.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good definition. Well, what is the dream or vision that sets the course of your life?
Boy, the dream is just kind of to have that total freedom. I've always been a hard worker, but I feel that I've also been a smart worker, because hard workers, you might work really hard, but if all you're doing is working maybe a job you're not happy with, or a low-end job, you might not be bringing in the money that you want, or you might not have that happy home life, or you just might not feel fulfilled. So my vision is always just to work smart, and that will create that total freedom I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, how important is it to stay focused on your primary goal?
Oh, that's totally, I'd almost say that's number one. I mean, by far, that is number one. I see a lot of people, jumping around to different ideas. It's almost like an idea of the week, or idea of the day. They come up with an idea and they maybe implement it, really just half-ass, hardly, at all, and then because they didn't make $1 million that week, they move on to the next one. My past, I've owned real-world businesses, pizza stores, restaurants, and even 2 fitness clubs that I just recently sold. When opening up those, you need to have a timeline, a deadline, a calendar. You need to do step A, then step B, then step C. And for some reason, online people, they don't do that, so they lose focus and they bounce around. So I would say that the ability to stay focused is, number one.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you follow your hunches and intuition?
I almost always do. And so far, it's always paid off for me. It's rare. There was a couple stocks, I guess, when the internet bubble burst that I'd have to say were not great hunches. But usually, I do follow those, and maybe it's something you can't learn or teach, or maybe some people just don't listen to it. A perfect example is when right out of college, I was 22. My buddy and I were looking at places in the United States to open our first Little Caesar restaurant. So we're sitting here in Wisconsin, doing whatever research we can at the library at the time, looking at demographics and towns and all the things that we thought were important. Well, at that point I said, here's where we're going. Well, this is where we're going to end up at. And I pointed on the map. Well, then we ended up going, in real life, we went out and then on our own, we traveled up and down the East Coast, and we got into towns, and we did research, getting there, and then we talked to business owners, and we did the same thing on the West Coast, and we did all that stuff. Well, we ended up right in that place where I pointed, Corvallis, Oregon. It was almost like it was a hunch, but I was using, some common sense to back up the hunch. But, that ability to act on a hunch has paid off for me many times throughout my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, what specific philosophy or philosophies guide your life and your decisions?
I think it all relates back to that being the best dad that I can. If you focus, because then I'm not focused on myself. Some people, if all they're worrying about is their next, their next car, or how to look good for other people, or how to, if you're focused on maybe yourself, or sometimes in a selfish way, a lot of times good things don't happen. But if you're focused on, like how I'm focused on my daughters, everything kind of just falls into place then.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is your perspective on goodness, ethics, and moral behavior?
I would say that's, with me, that's one of the most important, most important things. I just hate people that are two-faced or negative, or they do little underhanded stuff. I just can't stand those people, or I deal with them, I should say, but I don't want to be associated with them. So if I find out someone has pulled some stuff like that, I definitely won't ever do business with them again, and I definitely won't want to be friends with them either.
Mm-hmm. Well, what place does the power of prayer have in your life?
Well, and I've heard that you've asked this from other people before. I guess here's my philosophy on that. A lot of people can pray, and sometimes it doesn't mean it's a thing. There's a lot of different religions, and that a lot of times doesn't matter. It's how you lead your life. Prisons are full of people that are God-fearing men and suppose they pray, but they don't lead their life like they should be. There's a lot of preachers on TV, and sorry to say this, but some of those guys are the biggest scumbags in the world, taking money from the people that can least afford it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I lead by example. The good moral things that the Bible or the different religions teach. That's how I like to live my life that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are the principles you're willing to sacrifice your life for?
Boy, that's a tough question. I know that the love of my family, if that involved putting myself in harm's way so that they can be safe, or to save them, I would do that without thinking. If you expand on that, the love of country, it's called upon. I guess if it was obviously a good cause, or you felt that the country was doing the correct thing, then I would have no problem with put myself in harm's way for the country also.
Mm-hmm. Well, are your goals consistent with your beliefs?
Definitely. As I had stated, everything that I'm doing now, it's set up in a way to make my family and myself comfortable in life. What I'm doing now is it's always reflecting on how I talk and what I say. I'm always aware of how it affects my girls, and trying to teach them to be strong women when they grow up, so they're not dependent on other people or learning bad just getting in certain people learn things early in life, and they never break out of that. They're forever repeating bad choices or learning bad things. Would be the case where I look back later in life and say, I wish I would have did things differently.
Mm-hmm. Are your actions consistent with your beliefs?
100%. Anything I've ever done or said, I have no problem telling my kids about it. Maybe I don't want to tell them how much. Maybe I partied in college. I want to maybe tone that down a little bit, so they're studying a little more than I did. But everything I've ever done, I have no problem telling my parents or any of my friends or family or my daughters.
Mm-hmm. Was it valuable to have highly charged emotions about achieving your goals?
You said emotions?
Yeah. Is it important to have highly charged emotions about achieving your goals?
Yes and no. I thought about this. People have to be passionate and driven to achieve their goals. But sometimes emotions can really mess with you. It can really actually cause problems. If you get too emotional about business, often, for example, at seminars, people get really emotional because, the speakers really work them up and cause them to have certain emotions, and then they cause these decisions, financial decisions on the spot that maybe isn't the best for them. So those highly charged emotions advantage. I believe that business should be, you've got to be emotional, meaning passionate. But to me, business is almost a game plan. You're going to do step A, then step B, then step C, and so on. Emotions have their part, and you want to get them emotional and passionate. But yeah, you don't want those your emotions to run away and have you make stupid mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, you got to be passionate, but man, you don't want emotions that cause you to do something dumb.
Mm-hmm. Was it useful to take a positive view of setbacks, misfortunes, and mistakes?
You definitely need to, every single thing you do, good and bad, you need to learn from and move forward. I've been pretty fortunate where most things that I've done is, all my businesses have always made money. They've always been positive. The couple, and even most of my stock purchases were positive, except for the few that were not. I definitely learned from them. They were very expensive lessons, but they, even though you say you lose many thousands on a venture now, well, what you learn could prevent hundreds of thousands of losses later on. So, yeah, a lot of times you hear, people use maybe a setback or a loss or something like that to stop doing it. I don't want to do it anymore. That's it. I give up. Well, that's not how it works. You need to use every little positive and negative that you experience and then move forward from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, is optimism valuable?
Oh, definitely. Here's what's really weird is that my mindset has always been positive. I guess I've never even thought about it. I had little businesses as a little kid, and then in college I ran a full-fledged business that even had radio ads and print ads and stuff like that in college. And then right after college, I opened stores, and it's never entered my mind that I couldn't do it. The first time I kind of felt something, and I told this story to Ralph, that I sold my last real-world businesses, my fitness clubs, in February 2005, and I was 100% online. Even though I sold these things, and they were bringing in great money, but I sold them because I just knew I could succeed online. Even though I didn't have any business yet, I didn't even have a website up, I didn't even have my first subscriber, I really had nothing, and I never thought about it. But at some point, kind of that doubt did creep in at one point. I was right in the middle of setting up the launch for this project, and I knew it would be 4 or 5 months before I even brought in my first penny, and the doubts did come into my mind. I thought they were so foreign. I had never seen them or heard them before. But with me, I was lucky enough just to know, okay, I've done this before. I've seen how to take a business from zero to have it skyrocket, and I'll do it again. So pretty quickly I was able to get it out of my mind, but yeah, it was really weird having those doubts. It was really strange for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you maintain a sense of humor in the face of serious problems?
Yeah, that's usually all I do. My friends and I mean, all we're doing is laughing and joking. And the bad thing with my friends, everything's off limits. Everything's you can joke about anything, and it's expected. Even if, say, something bad happened, and I don't make light of this, but for example, if I were to maybe have in the hospital and have cancer or something, I'd actually expect my friends to come and make fun of me. Make fun of me. It may sound kind of morbid, but they would be making fun of me if I had lost my hair or something. I almost expect them to be making jokes about it. For us, it's important to have that sense of humor, and just because you can't get too down on it. Obviously, you have to reflect on your mistakes and your problems and stuff like that. But so many people, they're so serious about stuff, and it gets them so down. It's actually it's just how they do it is almost like a slippery slope. They get down, and then they get down because they're down, and then they get even further sad because they're down, because they're. So yeah, we always try to keep things light and positive in our family, including my family, where we joke about everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you invest time into daydreaming about what your life will be like when you attain your goals?
No, yeah, this one might be a little different than what you've heard from past ones, but I really don't. Some people get, and I don't know if that sounds weird to you. Hey, Ralph, I got to ask you, do most people say that they do invest time in daydreaming?
It's funny. Everybody has a different answer to that one.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I just don't. Some people maybe get caught up so much in dreaming and wanting more that they don't have, then they don't appreciate what they currently have. It's almost like the person that wants to, work so hard to have so much money for their family. Well, then they've worked hard their whole life, and their kids are already out of the house before they see that money or that success.
Mm-hmm.
So they miss out on their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Their kids are grown.
Yeah.
Who cares if you have, and then they want to get it back when they're older. They wish they would have done things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I dream about stuff. Here's a perfect example. Last week, I, at kind of out of spur of the moment, decided to get a new car. Well, because I had never dreamed or even thought about a new car, I had no idea what the names of cars even were that I would want. I just got on a site on the web and started looking up all the different manufacturers and all the different names and the models. I had no clue even what the names of cars were. I just don't pay attention about stuff like that.
What did you get?
I ended up getting a Lexus. Man, is that a lot better than my Jimmy? I wish I would have dreamed. Maybe I should have been dreaming a couple of years ago and bought a better car. Now after I'm driving, I'm like, this thing is sweet. But yeah, with me, I looked it up. I found out my neighbor had a sister-in-law that sold Lexuses. I got her on the call or on the phone. She showed me models that are available. 3 days later, she drove it up to me from Iowa. I had never even test drove it. I jumped in it 5 minutes before I signed the paperwork, and it was done.
Mm.
So I usually I don't dream, but when I do want something, I react pretty quick to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you feel it's important to make positive statements about yourself and the type of person you are and your goals?
And here's another one that I'm weird at. I've never done that. I've heard that it's so powerful that to write down your goals and I need to start doing that, because even opening up those businesses, myself and a business partner, we never wrote down goals. We never came up with even business plans. The only time we ever had to kind of do something financial is when we'd go in for a loan from the bank, and we'd have our accountant quick throw together our financial figures, and then we'd present it to them. Yeah, we never do business plans or goals, even in the business or even personal life, just because we would be taking action. We'd be too busy taking action to maybe write them down. Maybe I could have achieved a whole lot more. I have been, though, just recently, writing down it's more personal goals, trying to, this is what we want to do with the family. These are the vacations we want to take. I want to, it's just, do this and that and this. Just because before you know it, you can blow off a whole summer and you didn't even go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things I'm writing down now, more personal. But up to this point, I've been either lazy or stupid or I just never did it.
Well, do you take time out of your day to feed your subconscious positive thoughts about you, your goals, and your dreams?
There again, maybe I'm just weird. I just don't do that. In the past, I just take action. I just, my business partner was really good at taking action. I mean, if he had an idea, we would talk about it on the phone. Say, we'd be kind of lazy. We'd have offices just in our fitness club, and we'd call each other, even though it was like 30-second walk to the office. Well, he'd call me about an idea, and I hang up. And when I'd see him an hour later, he'd already made like 5 phone calls and made 3 connections, and already had an idea of what we should do or buy. So he was real good at that.
Wow. Well, I think that's probably true. A lot of people are so busy having positive thoughts and dreams that they never do take action.
Yeah, that might be true.
Well, do you have the courage to pursue new ideas? I know for a lot of people it's hard to change their lifestyles and receive the amount of fear and abuse that their family and friends will put on them when they change where they're at. Do you think that it takes courage to pursue new ideas?
It definitely would. If you've got, say, if you're surrounded with possibly, negative people, or you've grown up around negative people, it would be kind of tough breaking out of that. Even though my dad was just a hardworking, blue collar type guy, worked in the General Motors plant here in town, but I did see him doing side businesses. So it was always in my mind, like, hey, you don't have to just work. You can also do other stuff. So he would be, he had a gardening service and rototilling and lawn thatching. So he did little stuff like that. So I think seeing that, it just became second nature. So it's, for me to pursue a new idea at the drop of a hat, it doesn't seem strange or weird to me at all because I've always been around that.
So were you willing to experience discomfort in the pursuit of your dreams? It doesn't sound like you had much discomfort. But do you think it's a good idea?
I'm sorry, what?
You think it's a good idea to be willing to experience discomfort?
Oh, definitely. And I guess it's different levels. Like, when myself and my buddy took off, we could have easily maybe gotten jobs right out of college and started making money right away. But instead, we jumped in a car. And literally, we drove out. We'd already had the city of Corvallis, Oregon. That was already our city to put a store in. So it's just a matter of going out there, finding a space, and build, getting the store built. But here we are driving across the country. We get there. We got to stay in a hotel room before we find a place to stay. And all we've got is, I think we brought a chair, a little TV to put the TV on top of the chair. We both had pillows and maybe a sheet, and that's all we had. So, and then also, just the whole process of living off of nothing, literally, to get that first store up. I mean, that was, looking back at it, it was a discomfort. It was a discomfort. It could have been a lot easier staying at home and looking for a job and moving out, and making money first. But because you're in the middle of it, it's so exciting that you don't even think about it. So I think it's, I'm definitely willing to experience, the discomfort of leaving maybe that job. Now, selling my fitness clubs, we were bringing in over $2 million a year. Obviously, that's not all profits. You've got high costs in a gym, but it's pretty steady and it would have been real easy to stay on, but I was getting bored. Plus, I was tied down to having 100+ employees, and that was causing me some discomfort. So in a way, I move away from the discomfort, even though it was short term. Long term now, I've set my own hours. I can do anything I want. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, is it beneficial to make decisions quickly?
Yes and no. The decisions have to be maybe backed up with obviously common sense and experience. You can't let emotions come into play because, as we talked earlier, you can really make some poor choices if you really let emotions come into it. But I move real quick on stuff. The car example, the gym, from when I talked to my wife to when I talked to my partner was 3 weeks. Till 3 weeks later, I was totally out of the business. So total 6 weeks. So that's pretty quick when you're talking about selling a couple big businesses like I sold. But I move really quick.
Well, are you slow to revise or reverse an important decision?
I definitely can revise it pretty quickly. If, for example, like in business, you see things that aren't working real quick. Like you think you're going to have an advertising campaign that's maybe really going to kick butt, and you're right in the middle of doing it, and it isn't working out, and maybe you've tweaked a few things, and it's still not working out. So, yeah, you want to revise and test and change things pretty quickly. But if you know that it's not going to continue not to go well, yeah, you need to reverse that decision quickly.
How are you able to overcome your doubts and fears? I know that's something that paralyzes a lot of people, the idea of just failing or just fear of injury or some of the things that paralyze people. How are you able to overcome your doubts and fears?
Boy, again, I've been lucky. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I just don't have the doubts. So I said how the kind of a few doubts entered my mind, and it was so foreign. I'd never really, heard that play out in my mind before. So luckily with me, I just move forward. I guess I don't really think about it too much.
Well, do you think that had to do with the upbringing that your parents gave you, where they didn't put fear or doubts in your mind?
Yeah, because I think you're right. My dad just, my dad was a great worker. And I learned things later on. Like I didn't even know when I was a little kid, like under maybe 2 or 3 years old. I didn't even realize he had a second job. He was getting 4 hours of sleep a night. I just found this out when I was like 39 or 40, like a couple years ago, that he was to get, they had bought a house, and then my brother was born when I was like a year and a half. I didn't even realize he was going off 4 hours to 5 hours of sleep a night, working General Motors, and then he had a second job at a lumber yard. Here it is 35 years later, I'm finding out about that. He was just a great worker. He had that stuff on the side. Yeah, I think they just, whatever I wanted to do, they let me do. I think that was my total upbringing. Obviously helped me big time.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you readily forgive those who upset, offend, and oppose you? I know that I've had quite a few different answers to this question. I thought yours would be fairly interesting.
Well, that's maybe one of my weaknesses. I know you're supposed to forgive and forget. I really have a problem. If someone wrongs me, I almost never forgive them. Now, there has been a couple cases where I possibly I did forgive people, but I definitely never forget it. If there's somebody that does me wrong, on the opposite scale, I'm loyal, too loyal at times. Mm-hmm. I'll stick with someone too long when, all opposition has maybe left that person, and the facts are staring me right in the face that this person is, not the person they thought they were, or they're doing stuff they shouldn't be. I'm a little slow because I'm always trusting them. Mm-hmm. But when it does finally get through my big, thick skull, then I unfortunately I have a tough time forgiving people.
Yeah, well, that's funny. A lot of times people say that the value of forgiveness is just not so much forgetting about what the other person did to you, but just for yourself, clearing it out of your mind so you're not thinking about it and re-experiencing the emotions of what it feels like because of what they did that was wrong. And I think that it's important to realize that you still need to hold people accountable. You can forgive them just so you can get them out of your mind, but you still need to hold them accountable until they repent and actually do restitution and do the right thing. I think that there is no true forgiveness until people actually truly are sorry for what they did, ask for forgiveness, and also if they harm somebody either physically or financially, do some form of restitution.
I totally agree with you, Ralph. Yep, 100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah, so I think that, in situations like that, I totally agree with you that it is important to hold people that do bad things accountable and never forget what they did, because if you do, then you're subject to potentially re-experiencing that again in the future. What's that old saying about fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me?
Yep.
And what's the third one? Fool me a third time, shame on both of us?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Yeah, hopefully we never get to that third one.
Well, do you experience service to others as a source of joy?
Yeah, I really do like it. I need to do more of it. I talked about how, my businesses have always been doing well, and my, right now my family life is in what I feel is a great position. I really think we're, everything's going forward great there, but the service part of it, the service end, I need to be out there donating my time more. I really do enjoy it, and when I was at the athletic clubs, we, and in the pizza restaurants, we all the time donated our services and our place. We'd open up our club for groups to come in, and we would, at my pizza place, we would donate so many thousands of dollars of pizza a year. It's unbelievable. We would go into all these schools and set up our, we call it the Little Caesar Prize Patrol, and we had our spinning wheel, and we'd give out prizes, and granted, there was an advertising benefit to that, but I really enjoyed being there, helping these women out. I didn't just say, I could have easily sent my employees down to do it, but I was there doing it myself. I'd be in the Little Caesar costume, having fun with the kids, and just be like a little kid myself, because I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've been online, I don't have that, and I need to get my butt out of the house and maybe join some organizations to re-experience that feeling again.
Mm-hmm. When was the lowest point in your life, and how did you change your life path to one of victory over obstacles you were facing at that time?
Overall, I've had a pretty darn good life. I mean, some people have like a lot of hardships. I was listening to your interview with Tom Beal just earlier today, and I know Tom, and he's talking about some of his experiences in life, and it's almost like I'm almost like on the opposite extreme, where he had, if I have the story right, he was his parents were teenagers, and there's a lot of divorce and stories of him being ejected from a car and not being able to walk, all these things, and I've had a pretty good life overall now. And sometimes this is maybe hard for me to talk about, but my wife and I did go through a rocky patch. That I'd have to say that personally, that was the lowest point of my life, and the whole thought that I could be losing my kids, meaning that the wife would move away back to the other state of Oregon, out the side of the country. I'm in Wisconsin right now. That was tough to even think, because I knew that the outcome or what could possibly happen with kids being away from their dad, you've heard all the stories and all that stuff. Yeah. That alone caused me to decide for us to work on it. And I might have told you the story that it went right up to either the day before or maybe 2 days before the actual final divorce hearing that I called it off. And so I'd say that was the lowest point. But I also was able to, I guess, I had some control on it, and I made that decision to change things. And I'm really glad that I did make that change. Were there things that you changed in yourself that made the difference? I think that was one of the forgiveness things. I talked about I've maybe a couple times forgiven in my life. At that point, I realized that I had to, for once, or one of the few times ever, to do the forgiveness and change my behavior. So I am, even though I'm stubborn, I was smart enough in this case to change my behavior for the good of the long-term good of my kids. It's funny. I just went through that same thing with my wife, and the last couple of years of her being away from her family and helping to take care of my mom and dad who had catastrophic illnesses, and I just suddenly realized that the major problem was I wasn't accepting her for who she was, and I was trying to get her to conform to who I thought she was. And when I dropped those expectations and just allowed her to be who she was and just was willing to forgive her for all the stuff that I perceived as slights against me, it was amazing. The relationship changed right on the spot because I changed myself and realized that I could never change her, that she could only change herself. Well, good. And that's just been all recently then, huh? Yeah, just recently. Well, so good to hear. I think that's probably one of the biggest eye-openers that I've learned from the heroes' interviews, is that a lot of times if you want to change the world, you have to start with yourself. If you're having problems with relationships with others, you have to change yourself first. I agree. Yep. That is astounding on how fast that works, isn't it? Yeah, we agree on a lot of stuff. Well, was there anyone who helped give you the willpower to change things in your life for the better? Was there anybody that helped as a counselor for you when you're going through that difficulty with your wife? Or how did you arrive at the decision you made? Oh, boy. I'm one of those guys that, my whole family, we keep, we have, like I said, strong loyalty, and but we keep our emotions kind of in check. So the whole idea of when my wife and I were going through problems up to, before maybe the divorce proceedings started, I would keep everything to myself. I mean, including my friends. My best friends didn't know, and had no clue. If you were to say my two best friends that I talked to every couple days, one being my business partner and one being a buddy that was just, a couple hours north of here, or 45 minutes north of here, they had no clue. So I did maybe start talking for once, and that helps. Obviously, if you keep everything bottled up, that's probably not good. So in that case, maybe just me talking things out. The whole idea of willpower and being able to just do things on my own and how quick I move on things. That's just how we talked about my parents. Just seeing them in action over the years. Again, that's what I'm trying to do for my daughters. I want to show them how to do things correctly, or at least be in a proper mindset to accept things and to be able to be accountable for their actions and stuff like that. So many people aren't accountable. I mean, they think it's everyone else's fault that things are happening in their life. But yeah, everything I've learned, I totally owe to my parents.
Mm-hmm. Well, how important is it to believe your financial dreams would eventually become reality?
Oh, I totally believe the philosophy of that, like that, what T. Harv's, millionaire mindset. If you believe you're going to be successful or rich, or if you're going to have a good relationship, it's going to happen, because that's just how it is. If you truly believe, you're without even thinking, you're just going to gravitate towards success. Well, people that don't have that mindset, that think that other people owe them, or that they, for some reason, deserve not to be happy, well, they're going to be searching out situations where they're not going to be happy. So yeah, I totally. You need to really feel that you deserve to be happy, successful, and financially successful.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that's so true. Well, why is it valuable to know how much money you want to have in your bank account and when?
That's another one where I might give kind of a weird path. And I probably changed a lot. When I was younger, it was all about money and how much I was going to make and all that kind of stuff. And now I don't even pay attention to it. I couldn't even tell you how much I have in my accounts, or what's in my IRA or anything like that. I mean, I just don't. I'm more focused now on being successful, and more of a, I guess, up in my mind, my mindset being successful, not so much, that corresponding to what you have in your checking account. There's many millionaires that are not happy, and their kids are dysfunctional because they're not around.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I tell you the truth, I don't really even pay attention to that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I think so many people that focus on money end up missing a lot of more important things in life that actually make them better people and also make their life happier and those around them. Well, what is your definition of heroism?
Oh boy, that's kind of a tough one too. I definitely can tell you this, that some of the people that they right now kids are looking to nowadays that are the so-called heroes, just because you can throw a basketball through a hoop, or and it seems like people gravitate to the loudest and the guys that are just, downright not nice people. I don't know why that is. I mean, nowadays, the loudest, even reality stars that are just have done nothing in life other than be on TV and they're loud and obnoxious, they get the most press, and they end up getting more deals out of it because of it. Everyone should start looking at the people in their life that are making a difference, especially the ones making a difference in their life, like teachers and parents. I mean, that's that makes it that's something of value. Being able to catch a football, in the scheme of life, who cares?
Yeah, boy, that's so true. Well, did you ever create a secret hero in your mind that helped you deal with life's difficulties? Maybe Little Caesar?
Hey, I was Little Caesar. Yeah, I'd be dancing around that costume. People, unfortunately, outside, cars would be going by, beeping their horns and flipping me off half the time. I never did. I was able to just draw strength from the real world people around me. Again, my parents. That I didn't have to create anything. But I'm guessing that some people listening to this aren't maybe as lucky as I was. That it would be important for them to either create something or create a person to strive to be, or even to look for someone that's, not catching a football, someone to look in their life that they can, pattern their life like, or at least get some, if they get some additional training, or even just be able to talk to some of these real life heroes.
Mm-hmm. Well, what were the qualities or attributes of your mom and dad when you're growing up? I know that they're probably your real heroes, and you didn't need any secret heroes. What specifically were there other than hard work and just infusing in you the ability or the knowledge that you could do anything?
Just all around good people. You knew if my dad said something, still, you knew if he said something, that was it. Even now we make jokes about it. If my parents say they're going to be at my house at, say, noon, they'll be here at noon, or maybe 2 minutes past, or they're going to call and give you the reason why all of a sudden something happened that they couldn't be there. Mm-hmm. It's almost like their word is gold. It's it's just, you can rely on them, you can trust them, you can they're always there for you. Even though, like I said, we don't have that relationship where you were all running around screaming, "I love you, I love you, I love you." The bond is there. The family is my mom, dad, and then I've got a younger brother. So it's almost like a guys type household where you don't say, you don't talk it, you walk it.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that's so true. And so many of the people's lives that I've interviewed, having your word being your bond and actually following through on what you say has such a huge impact on the young people growing up. Well, who are the heroes in your life now?
That was another one of those questions where I sat there and I thought about it, and just because I never really, I guess I don't really look for heroes, just because I've always, had the strong family. For some reason, I don't have the heroes that maybe other people, a lot of people have political heroes, or maybe even heroes of, maybe books, writers that they've read, or in business. There's many people that I admire, but there's just no one that I could really come up with.
Mm-hmm. Well, how important is it to have trusted friends or a mastermind group to bounce your ideas off?
100%. The trusted friends, my friends that I hang out with are the ones that, almost like my dad, that my buddy Paul, nicknamed Mooka. I know that if he says he's going to be somewhere or do something or whatever it may be, it's done. I don't even have to worry about it. And business-wise, it's very important. Everyone that's listening, if you're thinking about doing a business or anything, I say always take on a business partner. You don't think of it like you're splitting the profits 50%. You're also splitting the work 50%. But 100%. If you don't get that work done, you've got 100% of nothing. And having a business partner that you can trust will get you, because you're relying on each other, and you're again, it's got to be a good match personality-wise. It's got to be someone you can trust that'll get the job done. But they're gonna get you to move forward, because you know that your buddy is expecting you to get something done. It's going to get done, and vice versa. He's going to get done because you're expecting it. So when it comes to something like that, it's very, very important. And as for the mastermind group, I'm just now before the mastermind group was just my business partner and myself. It was just the two of us. And we did have other owners of stuff we'd kind of ask a little bit, but it was pretty much just us. And we were very successful having the two of us. But I've just now, because I don't have that anymore, even though I do occasionally bounce things off of them, I am just now getting a group of friends online that I can ask questions with. So that's also very important.
Mm-hmm. Well, who do you feel are the real heroes in society today that aren't getting the recognition and rewards that they deserve?
Boy, going back to that, people have to give up on some of these sports figures or these TV, so people care so much about what celebrities cheating on who and who's having whose baby, or just, man, who cares? They sing a couple songs. They became stars because of that. Like, other than that, who cares?
Yeah,
they might still be just evil, nasty people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people that are that you see that are making a difference. You know, the teacher that sits there and is a coach. You know, they get into school early, and then afterwards they're a coach, and they don't make that much money for being a coach, as far as I remember in high school. But they're out there teaching kids, you know, great lessons that they're going to have for the rest of their life. And, you know, teachers are paid, you know, some of them eventually make money, but yeah, they're definitely not paid what they're worth.
Boy, that's so true.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and then the hassles they go through. There's almost no respect for them. Even back when I was a kid, unfortunately in middle school, and you know, looking back at it, people were pretty mean to middle school teachers. I'm assuming it's still the same now.
Well, why are heroes so important in the lives of young people?
Oh, they're the ones shaping it. You know, many kids don't maybe have strong parents, or if it's single family, then right there you're down 50% of what you could be learning. You know, even though your mom might be great and she's doing all she could do, you know, they might need a different, you know, figure in their life, be it maybe a father figure or a male figure, or vice versa. If they're living with their dad, they're going to need a strong female figure. You know, women are going to want to relate to a strong, or should relate to a strong female figure. So them having a hero that's, or be it just their parents or someone else, to help shape their personality is so important.
Boy, that is really true. Well, what are the things parents can do that will help their children realize that they too can be heroes and make a positive difference in the lives of others?
I would say getting involved in their life by, you know, exposing them to as much stuff as possible. Be it, you know, anything, you know, even if the kids don't want to try it or do it, hopefully they've built up a good enough relationship where they can join in, or somehow, you know, expose them to different musics and different cultures and different cities, or different, you know, just whatever it may be. You need to just expand their mind and you know, break down any barriers. You know, definitely don't be introducing anything, you know, any bigotry or racism or anything like that, or teach them, even if you have bad habits, try not to introduce those to your children. You know, I mean, if you know, I love it when parents are smoking and they're telling their kids don't smoke. Well, you know, the kids love and respect you. They're going to do it because you do it. So, yeah, you just, everything they do, they have to realize that it's shaping that child's life.
You know, it's funny how much kids actually look at what people do and listen to what they say and see if those two things match up. Yep, a lot more than I think us parents realize it too. You're right. Well, how do people become heroes?
Boy, I think being unselfish, doing things for other people, and not having some other motive, like, you know, they're doing it just because they want to get something out of it, being money or whatever it may be. It's unselfishness, that they're giving their time, their energies, their past knowledge, or, you know, they're giving just for the sake of giving and not expecting something back.
Yeah. Well, how does it feel to be recognized as an internet hero?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I really appreciate this, Ralph. You know, the whole internet part of it is fairly new to me. So I'm just, you know, what my business is having great success in the past, and I'm also quickly seeing it on the internet. But it's pretty nice. I kind of like it. I really feel honored.
Well, why do you think I selected you for this unique honor?
Well, originally I thought it was in case you ran into a hotel problem and you had a place to crash like that one time. But I think just because what you do is you go around to these seminars, and I think you're meeting people, and you're taking pictures, and you're soaking in, I think, what people are, and eventually I think you get a feel for the people that are legitimate, good people compared to the guys that are just in it to make a buck, and that's it. So I think you do a good job of just sitting back and looking at people, and then the ones that I think you give the A-OK, they pass your test. I think then you you feel that those are the people that can teach other people something positive.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny, when I take photos of people, the eyes are really the mirrors to the soul. And when you take a photo of a person, it really tells you a lot about them, which is how I pretty much judge people's characters, is how they look in the photos, whether their smile looks phony or you see them over a number of different events. You can really tell a lot about their heart on how they look when they're smiling.
Really? So you over the years, you've just been able to, you can pick up stuff and you end up being usually right?
Pretty much, and people can see that too. I think they're attracted to the honesty and integrity and just the quality of the people that they see in the photos that I've taken over the years. And that's one of the things I think that really draws people to the individuals that I've selected as heroes. And so I was just curious, how would being recognized as the internet hero change your life?
I think after hearing some of the questions you were going to ask, and it actually makes you take a look at yourself. Like, for example, I didn't realize until you asked the question or had me think through the question about, servicing others and the joy I feel. Mm-hmm. I didn't really realize that I wasn't doing it anymore. That, I was doing all that back with my fitness clubs and the, giving so much and the pizza places, and it never even dawned on me. I think if anything, it's just going to reawaken. These are great questions, and people need to not just listen to these interviews you're doing, but to actually apply them to their own lives and see, am I doing what I should be doing? Am I following, some of these principles? Am I a hero? So, if anything, it's more, I think, personally, maybe it's going to awaken a few things and make me a better person. Well, I like to think that anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I'm striving for.
Hopefully it'll awaken the hero within everybody that's there, who's just waiting to come to fruition and have them realize that they too can be a hero. Well, how are you making the world a better place?
Well, I know that I'm starting from home. I know that, if you really said, okay, could the world survive without, my businesses, or, my pizza places? Now, the fitness clubs are a little different because I was really shaping people's lives. I mean, the success stories I had in those clubs were great. People that dropped 100 pounds, they're now living longer. People that were getting off of medicine because they were so heavy that they were taking 20 pills a day. Now they were down to 2 or 0. That was a nice feeling. On the internet, even though I'm helping people, am I really changing the world? That's a tough one. Now, your stories are great. These can change people, make a difference. But I know that I'm making a difference by paying attention to my family and my daughters. That's how I'll make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have any good solutions for the problems facing society, especially racism, child and spousal abuse, and violence among young people?
Oh, boy. There again, some of that can, again, boil down to, and maybe it's just the luck of the draw for some of these people. It's having strong role models, because they like you said, they need those heroes. They need the strong role models to pattern their lives after, and to not associate with some of these characters, these weaker people or people with problems. It's one of those tough questions that so many people are in bad situations and they feel like it's out of their hands, it's out of their control. People need to just be able to take, look at their situations and realize they do have control. They do have some type of control, be it to distance themselves from the bad situation or start making better choices for themselves. You always have some type of control. So people need to just look at how they can better themselves and take control back in those situations.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you had 3 wishes for your life in the world that would instantly come true, what would they be?
Boy, there's obviously, for the world, you want major things like, having no poverty and having peace and there not being all the natural disasters that are just ruining people, killing people and ruining people's lives. Obviously all that I would want true. I guess I always think on a smaller scale. Just my immediate family and friends. I want all the happiness for them and everything positive, and for them to reach their goals and their dreams. That's what I'm always. That's what I want the most.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about the In Search of Heroes program and its impact on youth, parents, and business people?
I think it can have a huge impact. As I understand, Ralph, you're going to be expanding this into other areas, or possibly when people are listening to this, it's already expanded in a lot of different areas. If people can find a hero that they can relate to, be it in a different, outside of internet marketing, if it's in different businesses, if it's in different areas, if they can relate, be it if it's a female or male or different races. That's which is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
As you expand this to include more and more people, there's just a better chance that people are going to be able to relate, and they're going to be able to realize that they can change, or they can make make a difference in their own lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully the program will go to every local community, and people will go in search of the local individuals who are making a positive difference in the lives of the others, in opposition to the people that are the sports stars, the movie stars, the rock stars, who don't have any real value to society other than how much money they make and how screwed up their personalities are. I guess maybe people like them so much because then, they don't feel so bad in their own lives because these people's lives are so messed up.
They don't realize that these people, and I don't want to name celebrities, but
mm-hmm.
some of them are so messed up, but people are hanging on their every word, or looking at People magazine or Us or whatever the magazines are in the newsstands as if these guys are experts on anything.
Mm-hmm.
All they're doing is maybe singing songs or making movies, and that's it. Otherwise, you're screwed up.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the reason for the Heroes program, is for people to realize, especially young people, the real heroes are the moms and the dads and the next door neighbors and the coaches and the teachers that are making a positive difference in their lives.
Yes, totally. 100% agree again, Ralph.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time, Jeff. I know how busy you are, and it's just a real pleasure to talk to somebody who has had a good childhood and a good college and has been successful, that hasn't gone through all the trials and tribulations that most of the people that I know have. It really, I think, goes back just the quality of your upbringing and just how valuable it is to have a mom and a dad who are people that keep their word and live what they say and pass that on to the young people.
Yes, definitely.